back to Wildwood Cottage and welcome back to Wales. It's a beautiful day here today. The sun's shining again. We seem to be in a clear patch of weather and it looks set to continue for the next 2 weeks, so that's nice. I think the Polytunnel is going to be far too hot to go in, in this heat. It's about 28-29 degrees on the yard at the moment. So yeah, it's very hot, but the sun's sort of getting ready to go behind the trees, so the temperature in the garden's cooling down a little bit. We had lots of fun in the last video. I was going to show you me doing the polytunnel frame, but a bee swarm turned up. It's still there, and you saw it on my YouTube shorts the other day, so yeah, it's all very interesting, all very exciting. I'm hoping he's going to turn up and pick them up, but as yet he hasn't. But the warm weather seems to bring them out of the shed, and they seem to be sitting on the queen outside of the shed at the moment, so they seem very happy. So I'm happy if they're happy, because I don't want to have to leg it again. But yeah, so as you can see behind me, we've got the polytunnel frame, and that's what I'm going to crack on with this afternoon. This is the parts list of things that they've sent me. Doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So I've just been running and had a little look at the video to just make sure that I'm going to do it right. Found out I haven't got as many parts as I thought I had, so I'm going to have to try and cobble it together myself, because I do want to put some crop bars over the ridge so that I can hang, put strings across for my tomatoes and my cucumbers. So that's my thinking with that. So I thought I had the parts for that, I thought they supplied them, but that's an extra £70 and I'm not going to pay that. So I'm going to try and make something up as I go along out of some wood. So that'll be coming later on. But first we're going to go and have a look at the ridge bar, look at all the bars and the parts. So we'll just go down and have a look. Do you want to just have a little look at Gertrude on the way past? Look at Gertrude, doesn't she look stunning? Shame it's not smell-o-vision, because you'd be able to smell her. But no, everything's looking really dry at the moment because we've had no rain for about 3 weeks. But yeah, the garden's looking nice. I'm going to do a rose tour at some point when all the roses are out. But this is the polytunnel frame so far. I showed you it in the last video. Haven't done any more since because of the bees. But I'm feeling rather adventurous today to tackle the bees. So yeah, so this is the frame. These are the parts that I've got to put on today. I've got just put my hat back on. Right, this is all the door frame bits, that's a job for tomorrow. These parts here, these 3 poles together, they're for the ridge, for the top. This is a post that's going to go across that bar to that bar there. And there's one of them on each corner, so I'm going to do that today. Got another one to go here. Another one to go there, and another one to go there. I've still got this pole to sort out, this post to sort out, but I thought I could work on the ridge and do the other 3 corner posts and do this one last and dig that out at the end, because as long as I can get in to get to the plate and the brackets, I don't need to take anything off. So I just need to get that soil out. So that's one of the jobs I've got to do, but it's too hot at the moment to do that. So these clips here have to face inwards, because what you don't want is them sitting that way round and then the nut is going to rub on your plastic. So you have that sitting on the inside of the hoop. So there's plenty of space then between the nut and the plastic, so there's no rub. And then that fits onto the bar that goes across between those 2 posts, and that stabilises the frame on the corners from the wind. And then this post here will level up with that post, and the same on all 4 corners. So that's the idea behind that. And then across the top here is where those other 3 poles go, and that provides a ridge across the top to stabilise it at the top. Now on each of these joins here, don't know whether we can see, on each of these joins here there is another one of those clips. You get the clip, and then what happens is that clip sits over the join, gets tightened, and then that stops any movement in the wind. So that's that. Then you have a little hole in each bracket, and that's how you can screw into the frame. So I've got one for each of the joins, so I've got 8 of those to put on. And then I thought that there was supposed to be a bar that went across that way, which is called crop bars. Now this polytunnel doesn't come supplied with them, so I've got to make it up as I go along. So what I thought was, this timber here, I thought I could cut it to size, cut it on an angle, and then use some self-tapping screws and screw it in to that. And I've got to put what's called hotspot tape, which is like a sponge tape, you know, like the insulation tape you put around your windows and your doors. Well, it's about 1 inch wide, and then that goes over the top of the hoop, and then any of the fixings that you've got, any of these things that are going to protrude on the bar, you cover it over with that hotspot tape, and then as it blows about in the wind like that, it's not going to rub on your plastic and wear your plastic out. So that's why the plastic lasts like 10 to 15 years. So you can see the little hole in it now. It's got a little hole there, and that's how you drill it with self-tapping screws into the frame. And you've always got to make sure that the bolts are on the inside of the frame, not the outside of the frame, and that stops any wear and tear on your plastic. So that's what I've got to do with that. I'm thinking of popping a piece of wood along the bottom on each side, and then if I want to put raised beds in, I've got something to screw into. Yeah, that's it for now. So I'm going to put you on the tripod and show you me doing some of the frame, putting these bars on each of the corners, and yeah, maybe show you putting the ridge on here as well. So we'll get you on the tripod and we'll have a little look. So the first problem we've come up with is it's colour coordinated. So this is white and the other one is black. So it says in the instructions that the right hand is white, the left hand is black. So the black has to go on this side, the white has to go on the other side. And then I have to go and stand down the other end and do the same thing down there. So I'm just going to go and do that. So the first thing we've got to do is get our P-clip, have it facing inwards. Then we place this on the inside with the bolt going through the two, like that. And then we pop a washer on. Like that. According to the instructions anyway. So that's the first one. Right, well, just to make matters more complicated, one end's flat, one end's twisted. So when it sits, one end is flat and one end points outwards. So just to be aware, it's not flat and it's not flush. So I'm assuming, that's my thinking anyway, that the black end has to go on the inside hoop and the white end has to go on the outside hoop. So that must be to take into account the curve of the hoop. Instructions are useless, you know, completely useless. So my advice would be for the instructions, put them in the bin, because they're completely useless. They don't make any sense. There's about 3 lines for each piece, which doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe I'm just thick, maybe I'm just stupid, I don't know. So yeah, the black pole has to be on the inside, pointing downwards. The white side has to be on the angled side, has to be on the outside of the hoop, outside hoop at the front, and that has to be pointing onto the slope. If that makes sense. Doesn't make sense to me, just thought I'd let you know. Right, so the black Oh, do you know what? I'm in the mood for just slinging this in the bin. Excuse my Scouse accent coming out there. Right, your P-clip goes on the inside, your post goes on the inside of that, and then your bolt faces inwards with your nut on. Don't tighten it tight, just do it like that. And then that can push down, and the other one can push up. Right, let's have a look at that, shall we? This one here has to be 9 inches up. Which it isn't anywhere near. 9 inches. That's 9 inches. Tighten that a bit more. This one then needs to straighten this post. So right, so that's one corner done. Very pleased. Excuse the noise, the farmer's just turned up with a load of cows. So that looks like my plants are finished for the year. Right, yeah, so that corner's done, so I've just got to repeat that. What I've done there and down there, on that corner, and that corner. Sounds easy, doesn't it? Right, well I've done 3 now. I've done this one here, which I did first, which I showed you when I did the video. I've done the next one down here, this one, and I've done this one. Now I'm not going to bother with this one for a minute because I want to do this post here before I do the across piece across here. Excuse the noise, it's a plane coming past. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to do the posts that come across the top here, do these 2 and leave this last one and then do that post. And then it won't take me long to do the rest. And then what I've got to do then is once it's all straight, all these angles are straight now, so that's straight, that one's straight and that one's straight. So then the ridge poles need to go on and tighten that together. And then I just need to screw through these little holes here, and then they screw into the bars. So these things can't move about in the wind and fall down. So that's that. I'm going to have storm braces on them. So then they're going to be screwed together. And there's 8 of those. And then that's I think. Then I'm ready for the plastic. So I've just got to dig the trench, and then hopefully by Friday we'll be ready to put the plastic on. So I just need to have a think if I'm going to anchor any wood along the bottom before I do the plastic. So I just need to work out how I'm going to do that. But I've got to go out shopping tomorrow, so I may see if I can get some U-shaped clips to screw some wood onto the bottom, and then that'll make it even heavier again. And the pesky farmer's coming back with more cows, so I think I'm going to have some new neighbours. And the bees are still there, no one's been for them yet either. So I'm just going to carry on with this ridge pole, and then when I've done that I'll show you what I've done with that. It's basically just the same fixings as this. You use these P-clips, you use a bar with another P-clip on it, bolt it on and then screw it into the pipe. So I'm just going to do that. Right, so these are the P-clips, and what happens with these is you have one over the top, one over the bottom like that, and they fit on like that together. And then it all gets tightened in together like that. So the pole goes through one goes over the hoop, pole goes through one, and then it all gets tightened together. And yeah, I think that's about it really. Nothing else to say about it. So I'm just going to put two of these poles. I'll show you the poles. Right, this is one end. I think this is the first one that goes on because it hasn't got an end like that on it. It's just got that. Unless that goes in the middle. So that clips on there like that, and then the other one will go on the other end, and it will sit up on the top of the polytunnel up to the hoop. So I hope that made sense. The bees are in the rose garden. I've just come back from the shops, and I was greeted by this when I was just going to show my mum round the garden. So happy days. And the man's put a beehive there to try and coax them into the hive. They seem quite calm. I don't fancy my chances. It's a lot of bees. You see them. Right, so this is the frame. I've worked really, really hard trying to get it all straight. This bar across here is the ridge bar, and then it has 4 corner braces to level it off, to level this edge off, and on the other end, on that end, and then on this side. So all that's square, all that's straight. My ridge bar is straight after a lot of faffing. That's now straight. So what I've got to do now is on this end hoop here, I've got to go 16 inches either side of that bar and position 2 pieces of wood for the door frame. I've got to dig it in 12 inches deep for the posts and then fill that in. I've got to do the same down that end. I've got to build the door 32 inches wide. Not sure how tall, haven't looked at the instructions yet. And then along this side, around the back, along that side, around the front, I've got to dig a trench, a spade's depth and a spade's width and 12 inches deep. So roughly a spade's width and depth really all the way around. And then you take all the soil out, you put the plastic on, you pull the plastic down really, really tight, and then you put all the soil back over the top. So that's another job I've got to do today. So I'm going to try and get the door frames done and the door squared off and that trench built before my husband comes back, and hope that this wind dies down a bit, because I really don't want to be putting plastic on in the wind. It's not the most ideal, but we'll just have to go with what we've got, won't we? Because I want it finished today. I want it all up, finished today. Excuse the noise in the background, it's the American jets flying around. And I want to be able to start fixing it all up, ready to grow in next week. So this is it so far. Really pleased with it. It's taken me a long time to do that. It took me about 3 weeks working on and off to get the foundation posts done. That one's been in and out the ground about 8 times, and the one on that far corner by the pink bucket has been in and out about 3 times. So I think the only one that hasn't come out the ground again is that one and that one. So this is my new wall, which I've painted now for the soil, so that's looking really good. It's all nicely planted. Yes, things are looking a bit dead, but I am watering them. This big one here is starting to come back now. Got nice new green growth underneath all those dead leaves, and I think it's going to be absolutely fine. This is what I'm going to do today. What's behind me here? I'm going to go and get my workbench, get my saw, get my tools, and get my tape measure, my spirit level, and start doing the door frames and the doors. And then hopefully when my husband comes home, we can get the plastic on. So we'll have to see. So I'm just going to sign off now. I'll show you once I'll start doing the doors and door frames, and I'll see you in a little bit. So see you in a minute. It's a few days later, and I've done all the roofing stuff. I've done all the corner posts, and I've screwed it all together. So it's all ready to go now. The doors are on, the door posts are on. I've started digging the trench, and yeah, it's decided to be windy on the day I want to put the plastic on, so not a happy lady. But I'm very happy that I've got this far. I'm exhausted from doing it all. I'm desperate to move on to something else. Desperate for some rain. We haven't had any rain for about a month, and the garden is looking really dry, and everything's starting to go straight to seed, so I'm not seeing many flowers, which is a bit disappointing. Otherwise I'd show you around the garden, but I thought I'd show you where I'm up to with the polytunnel, and yeah, I can't wait to get it finished now. I've had enough. I'm bored now. I want to move on to something else, and I'm sure you're all bored of it as well. But I just want to get growing. I've got my tomatoes desperately waiting to go out. My cucumbers are desperate to go out. And I've got plants that are desperate to go out. It's just far too hot to plant them. So I don't know what I'm going to do. But we'll just have to see. Anyway, I'm going to take you over to the polytunnel, show you what I'm up to, and get it finished. So we'll go over there and we'll just have a look. I'm just going to put my hat back on because it's far too hot. Right, okay, so as you can see, the doorposts and doors are on here. There's one door here and a proper door there rather than a dummy door. I've done the door frames. I've put all my corner braces on. It's all been screwed together. The storm brackets are on the joiners, on the joins of the posts, and it's all screwed together with self-drilling screws. So yeah, we're nearly there. I'm nearly there. I've got to cut back this comfrey here because it's in the way and it's far too big. What I've decided is I've done the trench on this side, and because the soil is, it says to do it 4 inches away from the post. Now because the soil's so dry, I had to go over it with the hose pipe last night, and it took me about an hour to water it to get it down to 14 inches. It's still not deep enough. It's probably only about 12 inches, but I'm not too bothered about that because I'm going to raise the soil level here anyway to do a raised bed. So I'm not that fussed, overly fussed, because it's going to come up another few inches anyway. Because as you can see here, there's about 6 inches difference. So I'm not too fussed about that. I am going to raise it eventually, so that can stay as it is through the summer. I'm going to empty the compost bin because that's nearly full, so I'm going to plonk that in along here and use this as a growing bed. I have got some passion fruit to go along here, and I thought on the ends here and on both of those ends I thought I would grow beans, climbing beans and peas, because then that will give this a bit of a shield from the wind on this corner, and the passion fruit will give it a bit of a screen on that side. And then I've got my arch here and here as well for the rose that I'm going to grow, and I might grow something else on this side as well. I've got some clematis and I've got some honeysuckle, so I might do that. But what I'm thinking is, because the soil's falling in around the post, I'm going to put a piece of plywood along here, along the soil, and then I'm going to backfill it to the post, because the posts now are swinging around in loose soil and I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of plywood along there, just a small thin piece that way, probably only about 14 inches deep, and then I'm going to backfill it, and then I'm going to put the plastic in and do this side first. Put some soil on top to secure the plastic, take the plywood out, backfill it on both sides, and then that will be this side done. And then you do the other side, you do this side, and because I've got about a metre between this post and here, I thought that I could put all the soil that I've got to take out from a trench right the way over here, and then I can pull this side really tight, and then I can use this as my tightening tension side. The wind's coming from the east today, which is coming from that direction. Yesterday afternoon the wind died down and when it went really calm, and then in the evening it got up again. So I'm hoping it's going to be the same today, because the forecast is the same today as yesterday. So that's what I'm hoping, is that the wind will die down enough for when my husband comes home for him to give me a lift over the top with the plastic, and then I can tighten it on this side, and I can probably manage this by myself. What you get given as well, what I've got as well, which I got when I got my plastic, is these rolls of foam tape. And what you do is you pop them over the post here, and that just gives it a nice smooth surface, covers over all these brackets and sharp edges and things. You pop it over the top, and then when you're pulling your plastic you can pull it really tight because it'll glide over the top of that tape. So I've got to put that on as well, and then that's done. But I'm really pleased with my doors. Unfortunately my nail came through here. Don't know why it did that. It must have just been the way I was looking at it, because I was looking straight into the sun. I've tried to nail it back in again, and now it's come through this side. But thankfully there's a plate on here that's well and truly nailed, with about 20 nails now. No, 14 nails counting them. So that should be okay. It's all screwed in at the top here, and it's screwed in on the top. This plate here is screwed on. We had to build the doors. My husband made the doors for me because I didn't have a clue what I was doing. And the doors unfortunately just didn't go together very well. I don't know whether it was the wood, I don't know whether it's the weight or what. But I've had to screw them. I managed, instead of doing a double door here, I've done it to open inwards. I'm just going to lose a little space, bit of space inside, but I'm just going to have to get over it. Maybe not open it as wide, but at least I can get in with the wheelbarrow. This is how the doors go together. You use 2x1 and then you sandwich the two pieces together. I've had to screw them at the top here to tighten this joint here, because it just didn't tighten at all. I tried to tighten it, my husband tried to tighten it, just didn't work. So on all of the joints here there's 6 screws, 12 screws on each one all together, and then you get this little hook and eye, but it's not going to stand up to the wind here. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to put a bolt on. Just going to have to put a bolt across there just to keep it tight, because this is just going to flap around in the wind and make it unstable. So great in theory, not in practice, but this is just going to flap around in the wind, so it's just not going to be any good. So I'm going to put a bolt on, and I think that'll be better on both sides. So as I've said, there's another door on this side. Now I realised before that I put this one to open inwards, and I wanted to open outwards, because as you can see I've got all this space around here, so that doesn't really matter. So what I thought was, I'm going to turn this door around and have it open the other way. It is a bit tight on the top, need to shave some off, but yeah, I'm not too impressed with the wood that they send. The wood is really cheap. Maybe that's why the Polytunnel was a bit cheaper. But as you can see, it's not closing at the top, so I need to shave a bit off. I may have to take it off the frame here. So because it's been built on a hill, everything's moving. So I think it'll be better if it opens outwards rather than inwards. So stuck down there now. There we are. Right. Unfortunately as well, the wood that they've sent is warped. I don't know whether you can see that, but it's tight down the bottom. Then there's a big gap, tight at the top. So yeah, it's warped. It is straight though, so I'm pleased about that, but I just have to shave a bit off, so it'll fit. Right, so it's a couple of days later, and I've managed to do all the tape on the top. It's all been screwed together, and I've done the trench all the way around. So I've put all the hotspot tape on now, and when my husband comes home today, we're going to put the plastic on. So I've got the plastic out on the lawn over there. It's all folded up into roughly metre lengths, and yeah, hopefully we'll be able to do it. The wind's died down, which is great, and he said when he comes home from work he's going to give me a hand. So I'm all ready. I think I've got everything organised. I'm not sure, he's asked me to cut the wood before we attach it to the door frame, so we pull the plastic round, but I'm not sure what I'm doing with that, so I've decided to leave it, and we can always do that as we go along. But yeah, it's all ready to go. Right, so that's it for now. I think I'll show you in the next video when all the plastic's done. But the farmer's just been, he's had a good old look at my polytunnel, and he's just opened the gates for the cows and the sheep to come through and have free roam from the top of the hill all the way down to the bottom of the hill. So they're going to be coming past the garden now. So I just hope my fence is going to be up to it that I built. Getting bitten by those flies. Got loads of bites. So excuse me if I'm wafting my hat around, but trying not to get bitten. But anyway, I'm going to have a little look at the pergola and see if I can get that put up while I wait for my husband to come home. Because I'm thinking of putting it down in the corner. I'll just show you where I'm thinking of putting it. I'm thinking of putting it down the bottom there. Because I think it might give me some stability for the fence and stop the cows trying to knock the fence. And if it's rigid against 3 posts and then it's got the top on it, I think that might give my fence a little bit more stability and stop the cows knocking it, because I'm a bit worried. I mean, the fence posts are going in over 1/2 metre because I did them with the, the auger thing, excuse me. I did them with that corkscrew thing and put the posts in and then give them a smack as well. So I'm hoping they're going to be alright. They seem a lot stronger than some of the fence that's around the rest of the garden anyway, so hopefully they'll be fine. But yeah, I might have a little look at that pergola while I'm waiting for my husband to come home and see what I can do with that. So in the corner, you can roughly see a post sticking up. Thinking of making that one corner post for the pergola and see how we get on with putting the rest in. I mean, I don't know where to put the pergola, to be honest with you, so it might just be a good place to put it. And then I can grow beans and peas and things like that up it and give me an extra climbing space. So I'm going to go and root that out and we'll have a little look at that in the next video. Right, well I think that's it for today because I've got to wait for my husband to come home to help me with the plastic, and I've done everything I can do now and I'm just waiting for him. So it's gone a bit warm and I'm going to go and try and find some shade and try and find somewhere to sit. So I'll see you in the next video and I'll show you the finished polytunnel. I won't show you putting the plastic on because that's going to be a bit of a complicated job, and it's going to be too much faffing about, having to faff about with the camera at the same time as the plastic. So yeah, and I'd like to get it done as quickly as possible because he has had a full day in work. But looking forward to showing you the finished polytunnel, and then we can talk about how I'm going to lay it out and how I'm going to grow my food. So I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video. If you have enjoyed my video, please do like and subscribe. Please do hit the notification bell and that'll tell you when I upload new videos. And I will see you in the next video for the final showing of my finished built polytunnel. So I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now. Bye bye.